Hello, I'm Dane, and this is Dane Explains. If you watch my channel for a while, you'll know I occasionally cover SpaceX Starship stuff. If you haven't been living under a rock, you'll know it finally flew on the 20th of April, 2023, from their new launch facility in Boca Chica, Texas. Yes, that's 420. We get it, Elon. The headlines make it sound like a failure, of course, although if you follow SpaceX, you'll know they weren't expecting the ship to reach orbit. Well, what went wrong probably wasn't an issue with Starship at all. Let me explain why. So a couple of years ago, it seemed like SpaceX Starship was in the news every other week. Either one was popping like an overpressurized soda can on the pad, or crashing into a spectacular fireball. Then, for 2 years, nothing but crickets. Why was that? Well, that's because going from blowing up starships to blowing up starships and boosters at the same time is a pretty big step. Well, Starship finally flew, on top of a booster this time, and it wasn't the only thing that flew. Much of the launch pad flew too. The work that needed to be done between then and when the fully stacked Starship and booster, known as SN24 and Booster 7, respectively, wasn't work that needed to be done on either of the vehicles. In fact, SN24 and Booster 7 were already complete a year ago. The thing that took all the time was two things. First, regulatory approval. SpaceX got into trouble a couple of years ago when they flew SN8 on a 12-kilometer flight without FAA approval, especially since the thing blew up when it tried to land. So I don't think they were willing to get in trouble again. Once they finished SN24 and Booster 7, SpaceX was saying they were going to fly pending regulatory approval since April of 2022. That's right, a year ago. The approval they were seeking was an assessment of an environmental assessment. Yeah, you heard that right. The EPA was assessing whether a previous assessment they did for SpaceX's launch site was good enough, or if they needed to go back to the drawing board with a new one. If there was no change, SpaceX thought they'd be able to fly. Well, since it took a whole another year, you'd think they had to get a new one, right? Wrong. Because that's just how slow regulatory agencies are. They came down with the decision in June of 2022 that the previous assessment would be fine if SpaceX performed certain mitigations. As you might imagine, it took a while for those mitigations to happen. Then they needed to be checked. Then the FAA would finally be able to issue them a launch license. And then the Starship and the booster could fly. The whole process took a year, which is actually pretty fast for, governmental agencies. The other holdup was the launch facility itself. SpaceX was saying they were ready to launch a year ago. But if we take a look at what happened launching without a flame diverter did to the launch site, imagine what could have happened to the launch mount if they hadn't had a year to armor the thing and protect all the ground surface equipment. They'd probably still be cleaning it up. So if SN24 and Booster 7 literally sat around for a year, why the heck did they blow up 4 minutes into launch? I mean, they did have a year to check out and make sure everything was working fine. And they did. Both SN24 and Booster 7 underwent thorough testing campaigns. Elon Musk gave it about a 50% chance of getting into space. The last time he made a statement like that was with Falcon Heavy, and we were all pleasantly surprised when the thing didn't blow up. There has been no official cause released by SpaceX as of why SN24 failed to reach space, at least as of the recording of this video. The thing is, there may have been hidden issues with Booster 7 or SN24 that could have prevented them from succeeding, but I don't think the mission got far enough along for any of them to crop up and cause mission failure. That's because I don't think the issue was with the ship or the booster. It was with the launch mount. Many people who watched the live stream of the launch noticed that the ship had lost 3 engines right from the start. This isn't actually a big deal because the ship runs at 90% thrust. That way, you have a margin to increase thrust if you lose a few engines. However, more engines kept going out. The fact that one of those engine failures didn't cause the thing to have an M1 moment is a testament to how ready the thing was to actually fly. The most probable reason for the failed engines was actually damage from concrete being shattered and ejected from the launch pad during takeoff. Looking at the crater and the extensive damage to the launch site, it's hard to imagine there weren't chunks of concrete flying up and hitting the booster's engines. Again, the fact that the thing got off the launch mount at all is a testament to how well protected the engines were. If you had actually tried to launch the booster a year ago, before the engines had all that protection installed, the Starship wouldn't be going to the moon from Boca Chica. It would have brought the moon to Boca Chica. The interesting thing is, Elon said they were working on a flame diverter for the launch mount, but he thought they didn't need it for the first launch. Yeah, that went well. It probably delayed the next test flight a few additional months. At the end of the day, I think if SpaceX had waited a month or two to get the flame diverter installed, rather than rushing a launch on Elon's favorite memorable date of 4/20, we'd all be talking about what an amazing success the first launch of Starship was, rather than doing a post-mortem. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please press the like button. Subscribe to my channel and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon. Link in the description. The more people support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.